What's up with? What up? Alright, so tonight's lesson we're gonna be talking about masculine energy. We're gonna talk about feminine energy a little bit, but we're focusing on masculine energy, alright? Because these dynamics need to be spoken about. But we're gonna start on, I'm gonna have to show y'all the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy, and then from there we're gonna tap into how to stay in your masculine energy, alright? So here we go. We got masculine versus, let's just say versus feminine energy. Alright, so look, check it, boom. Now, if you've been on my channel, you done seen this chart before, but we're gonna drop it again for this video. Alright, so masculine energy, right? That would be facts and logic. Facts and logic, that's masculine energy, alright? Feminine energy, that would be opinions and emotions. Now remember, all humans have both. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy inside of them. That's true. But men are masculine energy dominant. Supposed to be anyway. See, when you put a lot of processed foods in your body and you're getting all this intake from social media or whatever the case may be, you put inputs in your mind that's got you operating out of something that's not of you. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men nowadays operating out of their opinions and emotions. And see, this comes from a lack of power. So we're going to be talking about the power dynamics within this energy. So check it. Masculine energy, facts and logic. Feminine energy, opinions and emotions. Women are naturally more opinionative and more emotional than men. That's their feminine energy. Now men are majority supposed to be factual and logical. Alright? So check it out. Sometimes this can go other ways, you know what I'm saying? So every once in a while we got men that was raised by their mama didn't have masculine energy growing up. So they operate out of their feminine energy a lot more, you know what I'm saying? So they just naturally more opinionated, more emotional. They didn't have a man in their life, or they just got a lack of testosterone, alright? In the same way, sometimes we got women who operate more so on their masculine energy, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes it could be a single mother, right? So because she don't got a man in the household, she might be operating more so out of her masculine energy because she had to step up and be the man of her household. So just naturally, she wound up tending to be more factual and logical. Or, you know, or let's say like a woman that's a CEO, she got to run a business, so she might be more masculine energy, being that capitalism is based off of masculine energy. You know what I'm saying? Relationships, more anything that's got to do with the household is more based off of feminine energy, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, we got structure. Check this out. Structure and flow. These are also forms of masculine and feminine energy. So in the household, a household needs structure and it also needs flow, right? So the structure, those are the rules. That's why we need the man in the household so he can set the rules and things like that. So sometimes the woman has to set the rules in the household so she operates out of masculine energy. But you know what I'm saying? We get into the flow of things, and most of the time the woman is in control of the household after the man sets the structure in the household. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be going to work every day, so he didn't set the rules of how things supposed to be. So when he's not there, it's already a structure going on. So the family can just get into the flow of things even when the man not at home. All right? So check this out. So now that we understand masculine energy, let me break this down. So facts versus opinions, logic versus emotions. All right, so look, you are not, as a man, you should not be always in your opinion. You should be basing everything off of facts. You should not always be in your emotions. You should be thinking from a logical point of view, most likely. You know what I'm saying? That's just being a man based off of masculine energy. Now women, yeah, they get emotional at times. So even as a man, if you do get into your emotions, we're about to get into that on which emotions you should be dominant in, you know what I'm saying? So because this is a power struggle, all right? So let's just say this. as a man, if you are tapping into, if you get emotions at time, the emotion that you probably should start at, I should say reason, which is a frequency of 400. See what I'm saying? So that keeps you in the form of power. So that should be where your emotions start at. What are you doing for good reason? And it's always duality. So it's either you doing it for good reason or bad reason. You want to keep it positive, right? So you want to make sure that all your decisions are made off of a good reason. All right, so hope this makes sense to y'all. So this is facts versus opinions, logic versus emotions. That's masculine energy and that's feminine energy. Structure and flow. See, structure and flow, that's where your peace is. That's an emotion of its own. And that's a power. That's power too. See, that's 600. That's a form of power right there. So for good reason, I'm gonna keep the peace in the household based off of the structure and flow. You know what I'm saying? So that's how you want it to be inside of the household. All right, so moving on. All right, take a picture if you got to, screenshot, whatever works for you. You know what I'm saying? So check that out. All right. Facts versus opinions, logic versus emotions. All right, now that we done broke down the difference between masculine energy and feminine energy, we're gonna get into how to stay in your masculine energy, right? So, masculine energy. How to stay in your masculine energy. So, your masculine energy, as we just said, should be based off of facts and logic, right? Now, we also want to, because we want to stay in power, the man's supposed to have the power in the household. You also want to be operating from love and light. So love, that's having compassion, right? So love, now I'm going to break it down why this is power, see? Because that's a 500 frequency. That's how love is on a frequency of 500. So let's just say love equals compassion, unity. Not division, unity. See, that's a duality. You know what I'm saying? Because, see, what's going on is the outside world be keeping us divided. So what they do, they divide and conquer. So, because the man is in control of the household, he wants to keep unity in the household. He wants to have compassion. You know what I'm saying? To stay in his masculine energy, and he wants to have unity to build a structure of organization as a man. So there's love right there. This is the next thing you want to make sure you stay in, as to stay in your masculine energy. Light. So light is on a frequency of 700. All right, so they're like, what do you mean by light? Light, well, if you've been tapping in with my channel, light equals enlightenment. Enlightenment. Right? Enlightenment. And enlightenment equals truth. And if you caught the last video I did, you will know that God is truth. So let's write that down. God equals truth. You want to have God in the household at all times. So you want to be operating from love and light, right? That's a frequency of 500, a frequency of 700. That's having compassion, unity, enlightenment, truth. Now, let me go ahead and get a little deeper into this enlightenment. So enlightenment is also unity. And why is it unity? Because the truth says that we don't want to be divided, because that's the duality, divide and conquer versus unity. See, when you divide, you allow outside sources to conquer your ass. And we're not allowing outside sources to conquer our ass, so we want to stay in unity. You know what I'm saying? Enlightenment is also, well, light is also awareness. Because awareness is tied to truth. So you want to have awareness. Am I spelling it right? No, I'm not. So you want to have awareness of what's going on as a man when it comes to your emotions, what's going on in your household, what's going on in your relationship, what's going on with your money. You want to have awareness of everything that's going on in your life. You know what I'm saying? Awareness comes you can have a lot of awareness or a little awareness, right? So we call it the 369. 3, 6, 9. The 369 levels of awareness. That's a little awareness. That's a little bit more awareness. That's a lot of awareness when you at a 9. All right, so that's a 369 levels of awareness. All right, so that's where you want to be at. So, all right, now let's get into some more. So, remember that love and life. That's what you want to be operating. That's what's keeping you in power. This is where your power is. You know what I'm saying? Anything below that, you tapping into these. And I'm saying that because these are the highest frequencies. This is the most power you're gonna get when it comes to your emotions as a man. All right. So look. So factually and logically, when you are in your emotions, you want to be operating from love and light. You know what I'm saying? Compassion, unity, enlightenment, truth, more unity, and awareness. All right. So if we are going to be tapping in with our emotions as a man, because we got to keep the power dynamics in our favor, we want to make sure we operate from these points. All right. So remember that. Remember awareness, you got a 3, 6, 9 levels of, see, so 3, that's basic awareness. That's just basic awareness of what's going on around you. And we call that surface level of awareness. So 6, that's a little bit deeper, right? Now you got a deep level of awareness of what's going on around you, within you, as above, so below, as within, so without. That's deep, you know what I'm saying? That's a deep level of awareness. You know what I'm saying? That's self-awareness, awareness of other people and their feelings, what you say to people, your actions that you take, your thoughts, actions, and words, you know what I'm saying, and how they play out in other people's life and in your life. That's a 6. So a 9, that's a cosmic level of awareness, you know what I'm saying? That's awareness of God, that's awareness of a deep level of awareness, you know what I'm saying? That's a awareness of the sun, moon, and the stars, and you know what I'm saying? Just all the dynamics from the 3 and the 6, because you gotta remember, 6 plus 3 equals 9. So once you got this level of awareness plus that level of awareness, not just the knowledge, but the understanding of it, now you have gained a cosmic level of awareness on a 9. You know what I'm saying? You just keep learning and growing. So that's that right there. All right. So that's the love and light. Those are 2 emotions that you want to make sure that you keep as a man. All right. This is your masculine energy right here because you want to stay in power. So now you also want to be operating out of peace, which is on a frequency of 600, and joy, which is on a frequency of 540. All right. Now, so look, peace. When we talk about keeping the peace, right? How do we keep the peace? You know what I'm saying? So peace, stillness. That's what we call that, peace, be still. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you can't be reactive. See, as a man, you can't be out here making decisions off of reaction. So, all right, so look, this is what you're doing. You reacting, right? So react versus respond. So you don't want to react. That's based off emotions. That's gonna see when you react, you ain't give yourself time to think enough. You know what I'm saying? So you want to respond. You want to respond correctly. So you want to respond from a place of truth, which is light, and you want to respond from a place of facts, which is also truth. You know what I'm saying? See that right there? So let's just put it like this. So let's just say your facts alone keeps you in power when you operate from your facts. You know what I'm saying? That's not saying don't have empathy. Don't have empathy, but you want your empathy to be tied into your emotions of enlightenment. You know what I'm saying? And your emotion, your empathy comes from your love. See, that's why we said love is tied into compassion. So your empathy is coming from a place of compassion. All right? So we don't react, but we will respond. So how do you respond? That means you go to your peace, be still. Sometimes you got to take a deep breath, figure out the most. Because look, it's either going in 2 ways. It's either going to be positive or negative. Or sometimes it could be neutral. It could be somewhere in the middle. We call that neutral. That's neutral ground. So neutral, even neutral alone. Neutral, right? So neutral is actually an emotion of its own. So sometimes you can be neutral. Let me see where neutral is at. Neutral is that's a frequency of 250. Now that's the lowest I'm gonna go. If I gotta be neutral about something, that means I actually took power from myself, you know what I'm saying? But because I wanna remain in power, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes to have empathy, you can be neutral about a situation. You get what I'm saying? And you can still uphold your power. See, at least you ain't went below 200. You don't want to ever get below 200 frequency. Anything below 200, that's cloudiness. See, at least at neutrality, you still have clarity. You still able to think straight. You still able to make good decisions at clarity. But if you really want to be a strong masculine man, and I don't care what they say, they might try to call it toxic masculinity, you want to be operating from your facts. You know what I'm saying? No matter what nobody say, if they facts don't match your facts, then you got to stand on business and withhold your truths. You know what I'm saying? Withhold your enlightenment. So look. So when we respond back to response, right? So you want to make sure you respond from a point of positivity. All right? You don't want to react, because when you react, it leads to something negative. See, reactions are tied to your ego. And your ego, let's put it like this. Your ego equals that's pride. You coming from a point of pride. Now pride, that's on a frequency of 175. Pride is on the frequency of 175. You have entered into cloudiness, because anything below 200 is cloudy. But it's a spectrum. You're not that cloudy. But just know it's starting to get cloudy up in there. You starting not to think straight when you operate from your ego. You know what I'm saying? Now you operate from your emotions, your lower frequency, less powerful emotions. You know what I'm saying? That means you are being reactive. You don't want to be reactive, right? So you want to respond correctly from a point of positivity. In positivity, you go to your peace, be still. Like, how can I be positive and at the same time stay to my facts and to my truths? You get what I'm saying? So how do you do that? You state your facts and you remain calm. You remain calm. Calm, cool, and collective. That's still operating from peace. That's your power right there. You want to stay in that power. You get what I'm saying? Do not get out. Do not leave your power. Alright, so let me write some of this right quick. So remember, ego talks to your pride. That's where cloudiness starts. You know what I'm saying? Because it's below 200. See, 200, that's courage. Courage to do what? The right thing, not the wrong thing, the right thing. See, when you're doing the right thing, you're keeping it positive. When you're doing the wrong thing, it's getting negative and it's leading to that ego. You get what I'm saying? So that means that you have the courage to do the wrong thing. You operate out your ego. We don't operate from the ego. We operate from a point of truth. You know what I'm saying? And the closer we get, see, when we at peace and we at enlightenment, we getting closer to God. That's God's truth. You know what I'm saying? Peace, be still. Or Psalms 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. That's Psalms 46:10. If you watched the last video, we talked about discipline. I broke that down. So this is where you want to operate from. Alright? So now let's talk about joy. As a man, as a masculine man, how do you find joy? So look, now some men out here single, right? And then some men got families. But let's say you're a family man, right? So your joy should be tied in with your family and your currency. That's your money. Family and currency. And remember, we talked about family earlier. We gotta have structure, right? You know what I'm saying? So, look, this is another point of peace. Let's get back into it. So, we're gonna write that again. Structure and flow. Structure and flow, right? So when it comes to getting your money and taking care of your family, you want to make sure you got your structure down and your flow. But look, check this out. Once you know structure, that's all about plans. You know what I'm saying? You write the plan, make it plain, and then align actions. Align actions. Right? So your aligned actions will lead to the flow state. That's what leads you to the flow state. So first you make the plan, then you align the actions with the plan, and then you get into the flow state with your family and with your currency. Now every once in a while something might come up, right? Let's just say something happened where your money coming in slow, or a family dynamic happened where things change. So what do? What do we do at these times? We go back into our peace, be still. Alright? We go back into our peace, be still. So look, this is when we go into that prayer. All right, let's put it right. Let me make some room right quick. All right, so this is another form of peace. See, it's a duality when it comes to peace. This is one half of the duality. The other half of peace is prayer, meditation, and stillness. Peace be still. So that means you need to pray about it, you need to meditate about it, you need to be still about it so you can find what? A positive outcome. If you out here running around like a chicken with your head cut off and you ain't giving yourself time to think, it's going to be real hard to get to a positive outcome. You're going to be making decisions based off your ego. And we don't want you making decisions based off your ego because like I said, ego tied to pride. Ain't no power there. But when you keep in the power dynamic, you most likely will get to a positive outcome that's going to be good for the family or will be good for your money. You know what I'm saying? So your money start coming in slow, you got to sit back and think about a new structure so you can make sure that you get your money coming in like you want to come in, or something happened in the family, an issue in the family. You want to take time to think about it before you make a decision based off your ego and create a new structure. So what we're doing now is, that's not saying we changing the structure, because we might got a good structure, but something just went down, right? So what we're doing is we restructuring. That's a restructure, you know what I'm saying? Of the family dynamics, of the money dynamics. So this is where your joy is as a man. You find joy and take care of your family and get into your money, you know what I'm saying? So, and then you structure, align actions, and flow. And look, once you get like that, now you build a momentum. You build a momentum, everything keep going. Everything on the up and up is positive, right? So let's just put like this. See that arrow? On the up and up, that's positive, right? That's getting you closer to God. When it's going down, that's leading you to hell. That's leading you to the devil. That's the devil's playground. We don't do that. That's where your ego is. So up here, it's truth, or how you want things to be. Down here, it's false. That's the lie. That's when shit happens and you be like, damn, why they wind up going like that? I didn't want to go in that direction. You don't want to go in that direction, so you want to go into your peace be still, so you can sit back and think of a new structure, a new plan, align them actions with the new plan, and get into the flow of things and build up a momentum. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you gotta pause, take a breather, figure things out. This is keeping you in your masculine energy. And that don't matter, that's with relationships, that's with your money, family dynamics, all kinds. You can just go about that in any aspect of your life on how to get to the next level as a man. You know what I'm saying? So, this is where you want to stay at. So, let me see where we at now. Alright. So look, now let's talk about as a man in your masculine energy, when things get bad, right? Let's say we got some negativity occur. And you want to stay in your masculine energy, right? Negative, like when we operate under the structure. So as a man, sometimes to keep things from getting negative, we gotta positively probably can't spell. Positively detach. With silence. This is a masculine energy. This is what men do. Men don't argue. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime you got a disagreement with somebody or some negative shit about to jump out, you just positively detach with silence, or you communicate while being calm, because now you're still in your peace state. Communicate while being calm from a point of truth. Oh, my bad. So, from truth. From a place of truth. You don't want to be sitting up here lying. You want to communicate while staying calm from a point of truth. Or positively detached with silence, all right? I put positively detached because it's a whole other type of detached. We got negative detachment. Negative detachment You want to avoid that. See, that's coming from a place of shame. That means you feel shame. Alright, so that's when you detach because you feel bad about it. And sometimes you gotta detach from shit, you know what I'm saying? But just know ain't no power right there. You want to detach for good reason, right? So look, when you detach a positive detection from good reason, remember reason is at a frequency of 400. So you still got some power there, you know what I'm saying? But see, when you negatively detaching from shame, ain't no power there. You know what I'm saying? That means you got low worth. You done lowered your worth. You know what I'm saying? This right here is knowing your worth. This right here is not knowing your worth. You know what I'm saying? But you can communicate, keep it calm from a place of truth. And look, calm, that's peace right there. Truth, that's enlightenment. So now you still in the 600 and a 700 frequency. You still coming from a place of power. In communication, that's unity, right? So unity is tied into peace and it's tied into enlightenment. You see what I'm saying? So that's peace and enlightenment. 600 and 700. Communication alone. You know what I'm saying? You still coming from a place of unity, communicating. Now, positive detachment and negative detachment. It's a third type of detachment, right? That you really want to avoid. We call that avoidance. When you're avoiding a situation, you don't want to avoid a situation because, see, when you avoid something, that's based off of fear. Those are fear dynamics. And fear, let me see where fear at. Fear is a frequency of 100. That's no power, ain't no power there. That means that nothing positive came from it. You know what I'm saying? It's coming from a place that you avoid it in fear. That means that it is negative. It's negative compared to positive detachment. I mean, sometimes if you gotta avoid a situation, you gotta avoid a situation if you operate from fear. But just know, you don't want to move in fear. Alright? So instead of moving in fear, it's a duality. We got faith. We operate from faith. Faith over fear. Right? So faith over fear. We're going to have faith knowing that we're going to positively detach with silence for good reason or communicate from a calm state, from a place of truth in faith. Knowing that operating in faith, now we leave it to God, knowing that this is the way God wants us to do. God don't want us to avoid situations and God don't want us to be in shame, looking at and gaining low worth. All right, so this is keeping you in your masculine energy. You know what I'm saying? This is keeping you from a place of power because look, the reason I'm saying all of this is tied to masculine energy because anytime you go down, okay, so fear, right? That's at a 100 frequency. So that means because you feel like avoiding a situation, you already done went lower than pride. What we say pride was that pride is a 175. Pride is tied to your ego. And the only thing we're supposed to be doing with our ego is applying effort. Because ego, that's cloudiness, right? So effort is tied into being willing. Willing to do what? See, willingness is on a frequency of 310. So willing, you want to be willing to do the right thing, the positive thing. You don't want to be willing to do something negative because willing to do something negative is coming straight from your ego. Willing to do something positive is coming from a place of peace or reason. At least for a good reason, I'm going to do something positive. You know what I'm saying? So you stand in clarity. Now, let me break that down for y'all real quick. So the ones that are paying attention, you know what I'm saying? You coming from a place of clarity. I want you to remember this. So 200 plus frequency equals clarity. 200, but look, negative 200 equals cloudiness. You enter into this storm. Now, you're wondering, how do I keep myself out the storm? What emotions are going to have me in that storm, right? So you want to keep your masculine energy, you want to keep the power, right? And this goes for anybody outside of masculine energy as well, too, though. But this is awareness. So look, check this out. So let's just say shame, anger, Grief